So now you've done two things. You saved your credibility and you still live in the property that you love. So now let's figure out a strategy where you can keep it without having the pressure of foreclosure hanging over your head.
Okay, so why would a, just to kind of pause on that for a minute, why would a investor agree to do that? What's the benefit to them?
Well, the benefit is equity.
Okay.
The property still has equity. And so therefore I'm getting the property for what you owe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it's subject to the remaining debt. So let's say, for instance, the remaining debt, and I like to use, easy number, is $50,000.
Okay.
Okay, and the property is worth $120,000.
Okay.
So we have $70,000 equity in the property.
Okay.
I get the property for the $50,000. I do a cash out refi once the property is in my possession.
Yeah.
And now I have monies.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, I did it at 80%. 80% of the $120,000, comes roughly to, something like, 90 something $1,000.
Okay.
I don't have my calculator here, and I'm not that good at math.
I'm sorry.
But
Estimates
calculator is, and I don't have it.
That's all right. Estimates are good for our purpose here.
But nevertheless, the incentive is now I have $40,000.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I have $40,000. I saved your property. You're not kicked out in the street, and maybe I'll give you some more of your equity for doing the deal with me.
Okay.
Now because of the fact that you have to convey this property over to me, there's what's called a due on sale clause.
Right.
So that due on sale clause will trigger, it triggers after you convey the property to me because the bank looks at it as a sale and they want their money.
Right.
Now, however, if there is an investor in the wing that is ready, willing, and able to take on a new mortgage, then that mortgage is satisfied, problem solved.
Ah.
Not only is the problem solved, but this investor has a built-in tenant.
Yeah.
Which is the person that was originally in foreclosure. Mama gets to keep her house. We can figure out what we're going to do later. And now, we all can have a good Christmas because of the fact that stress has been lifted as far as the foreclosure, removing us from the property.
Right. Absolutely. Wow, that's a great strategy. Now let's just take a kind of a scenario that what would on average, what would a investor the amount of time that they would say, okay, you'll stay in the property and basically I become your mortgage company. And usually if you're doing an FHA, a VA loan, or something of that nature, you can get a 30-year fixed mortgage, or you can get a 20-year, or even 15. What would the average investor expect from that point? Because it seems like they wouldn't want to be in that long term. And do they get interest? Are they charging interest with this?
Well, yeah. What happens is basically they use the same type of amortization schedule under what's called an Articles of Agreement.
Okay.
And this Articles of Agreement is basically a mortgage.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this Article of Agreement can be amortized over 30 years, but with a 2-year balloon, which means that, okay, after 2 years, you got to get a mortgage. You've got to get a new mortgage, and you've got to, buy me out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But now the payments are fixed, just like it was for a 30-year mortgage, which of course lowers the payments as opposed to a 2-year mortgage.
Okay.
So I amortize it over that 30-year period to make sure the payments aren't, astronomically high, because of the period of time that I want my money back.
Right. Now, is that comparable to an adjustable rate?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
The adjustable rate mortgage basically adjusts every 2 years, like a 2-1 arm, 3-1 arm, 4-1 arm. These are all adjustable rate mortgages, and they're fixed for a period of time. Like they're fixed for 2 years. Remember, Dwayne, that during the mortgage crash, most of them was because of these adjustable rate mortgages.
Yeah. Yeah.
These subprime mortgages,
That's
these
right.
228s,
Yeah.
2-year fix, and then the rest of the 28 year, you adjust, your rate adjust, and you have the sticker shock all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just wasn't conducive to people because they were pretty much qualified on the lower adjustable rate term rather
Understood.
than on the mortgage when it adjusted.
Right. I guess the an adjustable rate basically is like when you go into a restaurant to get particularly if it's fish, if you're getting a fish dinner and say it's a red snapper or something, and they say, well, it's market rate. So it depends on what it costs them, and your rate is going to change. And so the rate changes with the economy. It actually flows on the market, and your rate can go up without warning in many instances. So,
well, it's connected to the Treasury bill.
Yes.
Okay, to the T-bills, and they're allowed up to 2.75%, of that particular adjustable rate over a certain period of time until it caps off.
Right.
So that means, in 2 years, you can adjust the rate up to 2%, 2.75%. Okay, but the cap is 9%.
Yeah.
So you started off at 2% and you were happy about that.
Right.
Wow, my mortgage payment is like, $300 a month. But now after it caps, you're looking at $1,400 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And you're going, what the heck's happened?
Yeah.
Well, what happened is your rate adjusted, just like what you signed up for. But what was not explained to you with crystal clarity is the payment shock that was going to follow.
Mm.
And so therefore people were unable and unqualified to pay these adjustables, and therefore you had a big crash.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now, and so we discussed a little bit about the homeowners, those with a mortgage. What about those that don't have a mortgage? And the only thing that they have that they actually owe are the taxes, the property taxes that they may be unable to pay or that are now in the arrears.
One of the most simplest fixes, that's out there right now with adverse real estate possession. When people own their properties free and clear, but have a significant tax lien on that property that they can't pay out of their pockets. Well, they have to understand that their property itself can satisfy the tax lien because of the equity that it possesses.
Right.
So, therefore, say for instance, I've got a property, it's worth $140,000. I brought it 35 years ago. I paid off my mortgage payment, and now I fell behind on my taxes. The taxes are now somewhere around $8,000, and I can't pay them.
Right.
And now this $8,000 lump sum money, because we can't pay in installments, once the taxes are delinquent.
Right.
So now we are faced with a situation where we have to come up with that money lump sum, including penalties and interest.
Mm.
So $8,000 can easily turn to $11,000.
Right. Yeah.
A very scary scenario for homeowners when this happens. But now they call Rain Capital, and Rain says, well, listen, you have equity in your property. What you need to probably do is do a cash out refi, pay the taxes, and then escrow them into the new mortgage.
Gotcha.
So now I'm getting a very low interest rate or loan to value on that property. Right. Now the loan to value is basically the amount of money that I'm borrowing, against the value of the property in percentage wise. So if I want 50% of a $100,000 property, then I'm borrowing $50,000.
Gotcha.
So now, if that is the case, and I'm borrowing $50,000 out of my $150,000 property, then I'm looking at a very low LTV, which is, pretty much favorable to banks.
Yes.
And the
LTV
reason
being loan to value.
the loan to value is the LTV, correct. And so now here it is, my loan to value is low. The bank is happy about that. The reason that I'm borrowing the money, they're happy about that as well. Because I'm not just borrowing the money to go take a trip to Hawaii. I'm actually using it for something constructive, like paying my taxes and escrowing into the property.
Right. Right.
And now I don't have that problem of missing my payments, because every time I pay my mortgage payment that I now have, and it's better than losing my house to a tax lien foreclosure rather than to get a small mortgage on the property to pay those taxes and probably put some extra dollars in your pocket, as well, to handle any other bills that's preventing you from moving forward and, and living a productive life. So now I've got $20,000 in the bank. My taxes are paid. And basically, I'm not, dealing with a situation where I'm eating cat food.
Right. Right.
So your property is your pal, and you have to treat it like that.
Yeah.
So, property value protection is important. Understanding the value of your property is important. Understand what happens in a foreclosure proceeding is important, and we need to reach out when we don't understand those things and ask for the help, because there are strategies out there that can help you and prevent you from losing your home.
Absolutely. And on that note, I mean, with a tax lien foreclosure, is it redeemable in the same way that a mortgage foreclosure is, or is that a similar process? Can you redeem it after those taxes have been sold?
No. After the taxes have been sold on your property, you have a 2.5-year redemption period for properties that are owner occupied. Properties that are not owner occupied is 2 years.
Okay.
So now if you're dealing with a 2.5-year redemption period, during that 2 years, the tax buyer is posting everything he spends on that property, including your subsequent taxes.
Okay.
So during those 2 years, if you're not paying the taxes, he's paying the taxes.
Okay.
And so that's going to be combined with your original tax delinquency.
Right. And within these 2 years, that interest rate on what is still delinquent is still going up.
Correct. Now, it used to be 18% and 36% per annum. That's 36% on the investor's initial investment every year. So for 2 years, that's 72%.
Okay. And this is specifically for
getting that
Illinois.
kind of return on your money, 72%, or the property.
Okay.
So it's a win-win situation for them. So now to the redemption part of what you were saying, yes, you have to redeem within that period of time, and you have to redeem, prior to, this indebtedness continue to go up. Pay your own subsequent taxes if possible. But if not possible, and if you have equity in the property, again, you can use the same strategy. Refinance the property, pay off the taxes, redeem. Now, anybody just can't come along and redeem the property. You have to be a party in interest, or the tax buyer can send that money right back.
Right. Gotcha.
And it opens the situation right back up. And you say, wait a minute, I paid, the money was paid. You have to be a party in interest. And if you are not a party in interest, you cannot under any circumstance redeem that property.
Right. Now explain a party in interest again. What is that? What does that mean to be or not to be a party in interest?
A party in interest is anybody who have a ownership interest, or a livable interest in the property. Say, for instance, I live here. I'm a tenant.
Gotcha.
So I have to be served just like the owner has to be served. I'm the bank that owns the mortgage. I'm a party in interest.
Yeah.
I have to be served just like the tax buyer has to be paid.
Gotcha.
Served. The taxpayer record has to be served.
Yeah.
I'm a lien holder. I have to be served as well. So you see how complex this can get.
Definitely.
You see? And so the layperson cannot navigate the complexities that originates or that pretty much, goes with tax lien delinquencies. So they need the help. And once you get into the weeds, you got to be careful because any monies you put out there can be gone with the wind.
Wow. Wow.
So,
That's
you have to be careful.
yeah. And just to bring clarity, we're specifically talking about Illinois at this point. And is this all counties or is this just Cook that these tax rates are they similar throughout the state of Illinois?
Each municipality has their own rules. Some similar, some not so similar.
Yeah.
New York City is a nightmare.
Wow.
New York City don't deal with municipalities; they deal with boroughs.
Yeah.
And when you get to places like St. Louis and New Jersey has a plethora of municipalities, and all of them have different rules.
Yeah, that's similar to New Orleans with the parishes.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to be prepared, and this is not something you teach in school. This is not something, that you can apply for online. It's a specialized skill when you deal with real estate tax lien foreclosure, and the people that you're dealing with, like tax buyers and the clerks that help them, are people who pretty much grew up in the business, so to speak.
Certainly. So now, would we be able to help? I just want listeners to know, would we be able to help those outside of the state of Illinois?
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as we know the rules. And, we live here in Illinois, it's a lien theory state.
Right.
And living in a lien theory state, it means that we own our property, but we own it subject to.
Yeah.
You say subject to what? Subject to the mortgage.
Yeah.
Well, in California, it's not a lien theory state. You see, in California, you own the property subject to the mortgage.
Right.
And so therefore, when you are delinquent on your mortgage, they can sell your property on the courtroom stairs.
Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't take them any time. There's no statute like in Illinois, a 2.5-year redemption period, anything like that, because we're a lien theory state. And we have the equitable right of redemption.
Right.
But there is no right of redemption when you are delinquent.
Exactly.
Absolutely. You redeem before 5:00 today.
Yeah.
Before the end of business is your right.
Gotcha.
No, at the end of that, and the property is sold, then you have no more recourse.
With the exception of you can still get your equity that is owed to you, which, and I don't know if you touched on that a little bit earlier, but let's talk about that a little bit. If your property is sold, if you do go through foreclosure, you lose your home. Let's talk about that loophole that is available to where there are monies that you still get when that home is sold, and the balance of that equity, a portion of it.
Okay, and see, that's a good question. And let's talk about both sides of this particular scenario here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the mortgage foreclosure and the tax lien foreclosure.
Yeah.
Okay, these two dynamics. What happened when everything has happened, when the sale is completed, when the lights go off. Now what happens? Am I kicked out on the street now, or what happens now? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start with the mortgage foreclosure. With a mortgage foreclosure, people tend to think that all I have to do is file bankruptcy. Well, bankruptcy is a temporary fix.
Right.
Now, depending on which one you file, whether it's a 13 or a 7, the 13, the wage earner, turns it over to a trustee, which as long as you continue to pay, you can stay in your home.
Right.
But if you couldn't pay before, you're not going to be able to pay the trustee either.
That's right.
But that's just the reality of the situation. And you'll fall behind and open up the floodgates. Your creditors come at you again. in a Chapter 7, it only prolongs the inevitable, meaning basically that it will put a temporary stay on that. But if there's not enough equity in the property to satisfy your creditors, the trustee would abandon the Chapter 7,
Right.
open it up again to your creditors. And even if there's enough money there to pay your creditor, you would have to surrender the property.
Correct.
So there's a better way to look at it rather than to BK out. When you BK out of the property and you're leaving it lock, stock, and barrel, you have no financial recourse. There's no revisit,
Yeah.
So instead of me filing a foreclosure and spending the money to do so, a bankruptcy, excuse me, I'll just let the property go into foreclosure.
Yeah.
If there is equity in the property, then I know that I can recoup that equity, by virtue of the surplus, what's left over after the sale. At least I got something out of the deal.
Now, do they just let you know that you can do that, and then send you a letter and say, hey, listen, we owe you money?
No, brother. No. That's why, you have businesses out here that does just that. They wait around and they seek out people who have gone through mortgage foreclosure, and then they charge them 20% of the money that they recoup from them.
Gotcha. Is there something they can do that somebody can do on their own after foreclosure? What is it that they should be aware of the process to find out if there are? They probably will know if there's equity in their home.
Well, attend the sale.
So what is it that they can do?
Number one, attend the sale. Go to the sale.
Gotcha.
Go to the sale. Stand there. Listen to what happens. See who buys it. See how much they buy it for. Take out your trusty pen and pencil, and write down, the amount of money that the property sold for versus what you owe.
Yeah.
Now you know that there's a surplus. No one needs to call you. And then you just go and you apply for that surplus. And you go right to the window and say, listen, I want to apply for my surplus. I just see my property sold, and that's it.
Right.
And now you've your own notification. So that's just one thing that you can do. Remember, prior to the sale, you have deed in lieu of foreclosures. You can sell the property yourself.
Yeah.
To an investor. For whatever amount you can get, as long as the mortgage is satisfied. You saved your credit, you sold the property, and maybe there's some opportunity there for you to move back into the property. Who knows? But you have created some options and opportunity, by making moves other than just watching your property just go away.
Right. And then I'd imagine that, in that scenario, it's, first of all, it's a scary thing to happen to someone, and a lot of people just get paralyzed and they're not sure. It doesn't appear as, and this is how the attorneys are going to make it sound, and this is how the court system is going to make it sound as though there is no recourse for you. You're just watching a movie of your life, and you have no interaction at all. And so what we're really trying to get across is that there are things you can get involved in and do. It's not over until it's completely over, and just because it's completely over doesn't mean that you take a total loss of everything, but it does take proaction. It takes action and being proactive with the knowledge that, for instance, we're sharing, and this is not unfortunately this knowledge is not readily available, and this is where you do a Google search, or you go on your favorite search engine, whatever it might be, Yahoo or Bing or whatever, and you're searching and you just not finding the information. You go down to the courthouse, and they're not there to train you. They're not there to help you, and you don't get a private consultation with the county clerk or those that work for the county clerk what should I do? What form do I fill out? And this is where a lot of folks get taken advantage of, with those that send you letters and say, hey, we can help you stay in your house. Don't worry about it. You don't have to do anything. Just send us $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, and they're part of the sharks that are swimming in the water. And as you and I discussed, before, the sharks are definitely in the water right now because they smell blood. They know that these forbearances are going to come up. The property tax sales are going to be right up along with those forbearances for mortgages, and people are probably already getting letters or panicking or not sure what to do. But as Daniel mentioned earlier, at Rain Capital Solutions, we do have solutions for you. We have strategies. We have things that can take place. Now, we're not going to say that those are to everybody's taste. However, they'll be upfront, they'll be accurate. The information that we divulge and our process and our assistance is from a strategic perspective, wealth of knowledge, as you can see with Daniel as he's explaining things, and give us a call. Let us help you out. Just don't wait until the 5 minute, right before 5 minute clock is getting ready to stop. You want to be proactive. You have to get a strategy. If you don't have one, use some of the information that is being offered here. Daniel. So
and we're also talking about the tax lien foreclosure. Now, the tax lien foreclosure, is somewhat similar to a mortgage foreclosure, but with a big twist. Now, in the mortgage foreclosure, you do have the equitable right of redemption, and that equitable right of redemption carries over long after the sale of the property.
Okay.
So it's not over. Say, for instance, I got a windfall, my property got sold last week and I caught the lottery the week after.
Right.
I want my property back.
Gotcha.
You have the equitable right of redemption.
Gotcha.
To go back and get it, even after it was sold. I don't care if the investor is fixing it up, putting a new roof on it, too bad.
Yeah.
You're going to pay that money back and get your property back because you have the equitable right of redemption to do that. Now, in a tax lien foreclosure, let's say, for instance, you lose your property in a tax lien foreclosure. It's a horrific thing to do. You're displaced from the property or not displaced from the property, but you know that you lost the property because the expiration date has passed and the judge has issued a order for deed to the tax buyer. So order for deed issued cannot be redeemed. So even if you did have the money, you couldn't redeem it.
Gotcha.
Because the expiration date is come and gone. However, there is what's called the indemnity fund fee. The indemnity fund fee is what every tax buyer has to pay into when he participates in a tax sale. The fee is about $80, but you take hundreds of tax buyers and thousands of properties, then you know that fund can be pretty hefty.
Yeah.
Now, how does it work? Well, when a person loses their property in a tax lien foreclosure, sometimes through no fault of their own or through hardship, like they get hit by a car, or they lost their job, or the death in the family, devastated them because of the fact that they were the prime person who did the care.
Yeah.
Now, and so here, the judge will grant you a hardship, and that hardship will lead you to submitting an application for indemnity. Now, what the indemnity does is pay you from the time that you lived in the property what value the property was at. So let's say, for instance, at the time of the foreclosure, the property was worth $150,000. Okay. The indemnity fund will now pay you $150,000. You won't get the property back.
Right.
But you'll get $150,000.
That's pretty doggone good.
I mean, believe me, I wouldn't be like go out there deliberately losing properties for that.
Right,
But
right.
no, I'm not. I'm not encouraging that. Just kidding. But the situation is that these are things that can happen that people are not aware of. But they also have to be aware of is the tax buyer. The tax buyer don't really want your property.
Right.
He wants money. So now that he sees that you've been awarded an indemnity, he's going to come at you with a deal that you can't, turn down.
Mm,
I'm going to give you your house back, and all you have to do is assign the indemnity over to me.
gotcha.
I'd rather have $150,000 than your
Then
house.
your house.
And so
Absolutely.
here's your house free and clear back to you intact. You haven't even moved out yet. But it takes a year to get that indemnity. So if the person stays in that house for that year, they have to pay the tax buyer $200 a month.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
The tax buyer must then, point toward at least 3 attorneys to handle the indemnity case. Okay? Out of the 3 attorneys, one is selected, and that attorney gets at least 20% of whatever indemnity is awarded to the homeowner.
Okay.
You see? So that's just one way of dealing, with that particular situation. The property is deeded. They have what's called a tax deed attack.
A tax deed attack.
A tax deed attack.
Yeah.
I'm going to attack the tax deed. I know the judge gave you a tax deed, but I'm going to attack it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that you didn't send out the notifications properly.
Okay.
I'm going to say that, you were doing things inappropriate during the process of this whole tax lien endeavor. So now that attack could be successful. Excuse me. It can be successful or it can fall flat on its face.
Right.
However, no one wants to be attacked, especially a tax buyer with a tax deed.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't want that added stress, going on because after all, he's already waited 2.5 years.
That's true.
And he can extend that up to 3.5 years if he wants to, and give you more time. Or he can, try to make a deal with you since you're attacking the tax deed. He wants to see, well, what can you do? What type of finances do you have?
Yeah.
Because I own the property. We can make some type of deal because I don't want the property.
Right.
I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to have this liability. So we have to think like them in order to know how to approach them.
Yes. Yes.
And so we won't know how to approach them until you, pretty much go through some of our training, and we can help you, identify these opportunities in the way to approach these particular tax buyers and mortgage holders, and investors for that matter.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, that is some fantastic information. I think it gives people a lot of, insight into some of the workings and some of the options that are available. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. And, what if I'm interested in being one of those tax buyers, a real estate investor? What is the opportunity available for me? Because it sounds a little scary. I don't want to be attacked either. Buying taxes. I don't want to. I want to try to utilize, the market and get into this market, not to harm people, but I'm in for business. I want to try and make money off of this. Some of these properties people may not even want. What advice can you give to an investor? How would they get started on the other side of the coin here?
Well, informed selection, is one of them, and learning how to select a investment opportunity and learning how to identify that opportunity, through various methods, and there are methods like, getting a pre-foreclosure list or or a foreclosure list, or going down to the county building and seeing exactly what properties are about to expire, being in the 11th hour and the 59th minute of having to redeem their property. And this presents an opportunity to save the day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it
To save
seems.
the day, to save the property, and probably, get yourself a very cheap property, depending on what motivates that particular owner.
Sounds
Okay.
like you may need tens of thousands of dollars to get started doing something like that. I mean, if I'm an investor and I basically don't have much capital or cash or availability to buy, to get money in order to purchase some of these tax liens or properties. How do I get started if I'm in that scenario? I work at Walmart, and I don't make that much. I'm interested in this, but I don't know if I could ever get started because I don't have money.
Well, and here it is. I know you've been and heard of all these seminars and things that's out there that telling you can get property, no money down, but they fail to explain to you the complexities that surrounds a deal like that. No money down does not mean no money involved.
Right.
So therefore, we have to evaluate the situation, and that's going to come by when we understand the process of purchasing property that are in dire straits.
Right.
So let's take, for example, a lady owns a property. She can no longer, afford it. She wants to move in with her sister down south in Mississippi. I'm moving in with my sister. I'm just going to leave this house and I don't know what to do with it. That's an opportunity. That's the sign of a motivated seller. That's the sign of a person that's in distress. Their property is in distress.
Yeah.
And so you approach it. You look for these chronic indicators, okay?
Yeah.
You do this by just driving around. And I can do it now because I know what to look for, and I can just drive by a property and see it.
Right.
Because I understand what I'm looking for. I don't care if it's a boarded up window in the basement, or the grass is not cut, and various things to show you that this property is pretty much in distress,
Right.
and now you can get out and do a site visit, whether you knock on the door or just walk around to the side of the property where the meter is located and see if the meter is running.
Yeah.
Well, if the meter's not running, there's no electricity in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's no electricity in the house, you can pretty much surmise from that observation that the property is vacant.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. So now you know that you've got a prospect here. Now I've got a prospect here. Now let me do my diligence. Let me check out the values in this area. Let me find out who the taxpayer of record is, who was the last owner of this particular property, and let me see, can I contact that person and see what their motivations are?
Right. Right.
Okay. Now you contact that person, and Mrs. Green, she doesn't want anything to do with the property. I'm just tired of it. And plus, it's got $8,000 worth of tax liens on it, and I'm just tired of it. Well, Miss Green, how much money do you owe on the property? I don't owe nothing on that property.
Yeah.
But I'm tired of it, and I'm gone. Well, Miss Green, if I was to say I can give you $5,000, so to help you move down south with your sister, would you consider giving me a quick claim deed to the property? Okay. Now, Mrs. Green is already motivated, but now $5,000 is motivating her
Right.
even.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
She was ready to walk away with nothing.
Yeah, she wanted to walk away from it anyway. Yeah.
Okay, now you just got a property for $5,000 plus the $8,000 tax lien that's on the property. Okay, that's what you inherited. Whenever you get a quick claim deed, you inherit whatever that former owner has on the property, whatever liens, whatever problems, you just took them on. That's what a quick claim deed does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you have ownership to the property, and the acquisition of that property was how much? $13,000.
Yeah. Okay.
So you just got a $13,000 house. You just found out it was worth $160,000. It needs about $30,000 worth of work.
So where do I get this 13,000? Like I said, I'm at Walmart.
You own the property.
Ah,
The property is your collateral.
yeah, yeah. Well,
The
I
property
need
collateral.
I need the $5,000 to pay her up front, don't I?
Okay, so now you have an investor, and that's where you contact Rain Capital. And if you don't know an investor of your own, or you can't borrow $5,000 from relatives, or you can't go to the bank and get it, you got to get it from somewhere.
That's right.
So you come to me with a deal, okay, and I say, hey, listen, Dwayne, I've got an opportunity for this investment property. The acquisition is like $13,000, and it needs about $30,000 worth of work.
Right.
So the acquisition rehab is $43,000. The property is worth like $160,000. So basically, I only need, the $43,000 for the acquisition rehab of the property. Then I'm going to do a cash out refi to pay you back. You see?
That's right.
Now, my cash out refi, because I own the property now, remember the quitclaim deed. And just because I work at Walmart, and I've been at Walmart for 2 years, then my collateral, because this particular deal can be asset driven.
Right.
So now I have an asset driven deal, based on and a low LTV, you see?
Yeah, very low. Very low.
But if I wanted to be higher, if I qualify for 70% because it's an investment property and I get 70%, I'm taking it.
Yes.
And I'm going to put a Section 8 in that property to pay that mortgage payment, not me.
That's right. That's right.
You see? So can a person with a moderate income and, decent credit or not so decent credit, become a real estate investor? Absolutely. And we can also help them become real estate investors, those who have great credit but limited cash.
Yes.
You see,
Yes.
They can also come to us and we will groom them, hold their hand.
That's right.
And basically with no money out of their own pocket, we can develop them into becoming a real estate investor.
Which means their credit is their business, as we say all
Credit
the
is
time.
your business. I couldn't say it better myself. Your credit is your business. You should not be living in an apartment with a 720 FICO score.
That's right.
You should be owning properties.
Yes.
I mean, serious business. And so, so these opportunities will present themselves, to those who are serious about, becoming a real estate investor.
Yep.
And there are strategies to becoming a real estate investor. Don't fall for the hype. Don't buy a lot of seminar material and find yourself in a situation where you think you finna go into a transaction with no money at all.
Right. Right.
Is there opportunity for going into a transaction with no money at all? Very few. Mm-hmm. And if it's not your money, it's going to be somebody else's.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Remember,
right.
You've got closing costs, transfer stamp declaration. You've got fees to pay for recording your deed. You have title fees to pay. All these things are relative, and they all cost money. And so you can't close a deal without having money, even if you get the property with no money down, like we did with Miss Green.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of these companies that say, well, we just want to partner with you, and they have you out there bird dogging basically, mm-hmm. and you're hunting and pecking, and you're not really an investor. You're getting a finder's fee of some sort. And you're getting carried along from that, but it's not, the intention is not for you to actually get into the nitty gritty of being a investor. If something doesn't cost you something, if it doesn't require you to do to be diligent and learn as much as you can, and they tell you, hey, it's just easy peasy, just go ahead and do it. And we're going to pay you, and you're going to make a ton of money. I'd be very weary of those offers. On the other hand, what we are able to do, those that would be investors, not only do we supply and have funding and financing, we help them with their business credit, building business credit that is separate from the personal credit. We also help them they have a bad score and they want to get into real estate investing. Of course, we can assist them with getting that score up to par, where that becomes their business, and they are actually taking care of business by taking care of the credit score, and a number of other things that we offer in addition to our real estate education and assistance, from a consulting perspective, and a brokering perspective for loans and things of that nature. But we really want to get folks to kind of open their eyes of the opportunities that are around them. I mean, you're sitting in a neighborhood. If you're in a neighborhood, let's say it's blighted. It has on a block of 12 homes, 6 of them are boarded up or inhabitable, or you have some squatters in there, doing all kind of stuff. These are, and you may be frustrated with your neighborhood, but these actually may be opportunities. Is that right, Daniel?
Oh, absolutely. And we should take advantage of the opportunities that's right under our nose, because outsiders sure do.
Better believe it.
People who don't even live in your neighborhood come and invest in the properties in your neighborhood, and you live in your neighborhood and don't invest in those properties.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a travesty.
Yes.
You see? And so we have to be, more alert, to protecting the opportunities that's right in our own communities, and don't let anybody else dictate the karma of our communities, because they don't care who they put in there.
That's right.
They're gonna put a doggone, family in there that, don't want to do anything but tear the place up.
Right. Yeah.
And so we have to be vigilant, as people in our community to protect, the value of not only our property, but the property of our neighbors as well.
Absolutely.
You see?
We have a vested interest.
Yeah, because when their property increases in value, what happens to yours?
It goes up in value.
It increases in value.
That's correct.
And that's what we want. We want a community of homeowners, not a community of renters.
Yes.
Is there anything wrong with renting a property? No, but rent it to own it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, rent to own program. So let's say, for instance, this person wants to be a real estate investor, but I want a house.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any opportunity for me to get a house in my current situation financially? Sure. Rent to own.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You see?
Absolutely.
Because I can put you in a property and hook you up with one of our investors who just refurbished the house and say, hey, listen, you can live in this house for $1,200 a month or whatever.
Yeah.
And after 1 year, after 2 years, you can purchase this house and keep the equity that's in it.
There you go.
You see? What have you just did?
Yeah.
You just invested in real estate.
There you go.
Legitimately. You see, and now that your FICO score is higher, you can go out and call Dwayne and say, hey, listen, I'm interested in doing another deal. Is there any opportunities out there right now that I can invest in?
That's right.
And we would certainly say, sure there is, steer you to that opportunity, explain the parameters, you see, because you have to do 5th grade math here.
That's right. Yeah.
And after we do that, then we understand what's at stake. Don't go and think I'm going to make $40,000. You haven't done your math. You haven't done your math. See, I always, overestimate when I'm looking at a property from the curve, because you want to give yourself an advantage over your competitors. Why? They want to wait until they go in the house and, go through every nook and cranny and decide, okay, this is how much the house is worth. That might take weeks before they can get in and make those evaluations.
That's right.
From the curve.
From the curve.
I assume it needs everything.
There you go.
And that way I adjust my offer accordingly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I might go in there and guess what? Be pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I'm $20,000 off, to my advantage.
Yeah.
So what? Am I going to kick myself? No, I'm going to pat myself on the back.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this is what you want to do, and this is the methodology that gets you to sort of say the promised land.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of mistakes out there to be made.
Yes.
And one of them is to think that you can go into these ventures with no money.
Yes.
Now, I didn't say you can't do it with no money, but I would say when you do a deal with no money, think of it this way. I'm doing it with no money of my own.
That's correct.
You see?
That's right.
Because you want to always use OPM,
Other people's money.
you know. And so, and taking all that into consideration and going through the necessary steps to develop you properly from a great foundational point of view and perspective, you'll be successful. But if I'm selling you a booklet for $400, it's going to be another book sitting on your shelf gathering dust.
And there's plenty of them out there. There's there's no shortage of books and programs and packages that have your bronze, your silver, your gold, and a ton of promises. There is no easy button, and that's the first thing that you need to do to separate yourself as any sort of investor, real estate investor, heck, just a business owner or someone getting into business, an entrepreneur. You have to go in with the mindset of I'm going in here to do some hard work and some things that a lot of people won't invest the time in doing. And taking it from that perspective, you won't be duped. If you walk into something and there's no work for you to do as far as it's being explained, I would just turn around and walk right back out, because I don't need anybody to give me anything, with the exception of the knowledge that I have when folks are helping to enhance that knowledge or offer me the inception of that knowledge, as we are doing today. So we're running right just a little over an hour. Daniel, any closing thoughts or ideas that we can leave with our listeners, on both sides of the fence as homeowners and investors? Any words of wisdom? Final words of wisdom?
I would say, never give up the fight when it comes to your property. That is your legacy. That is your children's legacy. Fight for it and find out as much information possible, when it comes to real estate in your property. Because the reality is that there are more strategies out there than there are adversities.
Yes.
So basically, we need to look into what can I do other than saying, what have I done?
Absolutely. And those are definitely words of wisdom. I'll simply add to that by saying you can reach us at Rain Capital Solutions. You can either go to our website, that's www.raincapitalsolutions.com. You can call us, and we'll be glad to talk with you over the phone. We can be reached at 1-866-960-9753. My extension is 701. Daniel's extension is 712. Send us an email at info at rain, RAINCS. So that's RainCharlieSierra.com. And we'll be glad to discuss your interests, your issues, things that you're concerned about and need help with. We'll be glad to spend some time to chat with you about it and how we may assist you or even partner with you in certain scenarios. So Daniel, that wraps it up for us on our second episode here of Real Estate in Reality. And we hope we brought some reality to the real estate scenario for each person that is listening. And as Daniel mentioned, I'll just echo, don't give up hope. Don't give up, period. Give us a call, give us a shout, send us an email, and we will be glad to help you. And that's us signing off. Dwayne Moore and Daniel McMorris.
Yes, sir. Beautiful.
Let